The US just restricted access to advanced AI. Is this the beginning of an AI Cold War? For years, governments have been trying to figure out how to regulate artificial intelligence. How should AI be used? What safeguards should exist? Who should be held responsible when something goes wrong? But this week, the US government took a different approach. Instead of regulating how AI is used, it reportedly restricted access to some of the most advanced AI systems in the world. And that raises a much bigger question. Are we entering an era where advanced AI is treated less like software and more like a strategic national asset? Welcome back to Synthetic Politics. Over the past few videos, we've covered the growing battle over AI regulation. States versus the federal government, the European Union's AI Act, and the very different paths being taken by the US, Europe, and China. But the story we're covering today isn't really about regulation. It's about control. Because if reports are accurate, the US government has taken one of its most aggressive actions, yet involving a frontier AI company. And the implications extend far beyond a single model or a single company. According to multiple reports, the Commerce Department ordered restrictions on access to Anthropic's most advanced AI models, citing national security concerns. Anthropic complied with the directive, but publicly disagreed with the government's decision. The company argued that the concerns raised by the government did not justify restricting access to the models and warned that applying similar standards broadly could affect future AI deployments across the industry. At the time of this recording, many details remain unclear. The government has not publicly released a detailed explanation of the specific national security concern that prompted the action. Anthropic says it is working with government officials to resolve the issue. That uncertainty is important because it makes this story less about one company's models and more about the government's authority to intervene in the first place. If an AI company believes its model is safe, but the government believes it poses a national security risk, who should have the final say? Let me know in the comments. Most AI regulations focus on what people are allowed to do with AI. Can it be used for hiring? Can it be used in healthcare? Should AI-generated content be labeled? Should certain uses be banned entirely? Those are all questions about usage. This appears to be something different. The government's action is closer to the way the United States treats strategically important technologies. For decades, the US has used export controls to limit foreign access to advanced military technology, sensitive software, and cutting-edge semiconductor technology. Now, a similar logic may be emerging around advanced AI. The argument is straightforward. If frontier AI systems become powerful enough to influence cybersecurity, intelligence gathering, military planning, or other national security functions, then governments may view access to those systems as a strategic issue, not simply a commercial one. Whether you agree with that logic or not, it represents a significant shift in how policymakers are thinking about AI. This story is happening against the backdrop of a much larger competition. The United States, China, and the European Union are all building very different approaches to AI governance. Europe has largely focused on regulation and risk management. China has emphasized state oversight and control. The United States has generally favored innovation and private sector development, while gradually increasing government involvement. What makes this week's development noteworthy is that it may signal a move toward treating advanced AI as a strategic national asset. Not just something that needs rules, something that governments may want direct influence over. If that trend continues, future debates may no longer focus primarily on what AI companies are allowed to build. Instead, they may focus on who gets access to those systems, under what conditions, and with whose approval. That would be a fundamentally different era of AI policy. At the center of this story is a question that governments around the world are still struggling to answer. Who should decide when an AI system is too powerful, too risky, or too strategically important to remain broadly accessible? Should that decision belong to elected officials, government agencies, independent regulators, or the companies building the technology? There is no clear consensus today. But the decision involving Anthropic suggests that governments may be increasingly willing to answer that question for themselves. And if that's true, this may be remembered as one of the first major moments in a new phase of AI governance. The situation is still developing, and additional details may emerge in the coming days. If the government releases more information, if Anthropic challenges the decision, or if similar restrictions are applied to other AI companies, we'll cover those developments here. Because this isn't just a story about AI. It's a story about power. Who has it? Who wants it? And who gets to decide the rules for one of the most important technologies of the century? If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe to Synthetic Politics and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.